So have you heard about the draft target border operating model that the UK government unveiled early April? Well, in this video, we're going to give you all the insights, all the high-level stuff, the summary of what they've actually proposed. Welcome to the first of a 5-part series on the new target border operating model of the United Kingdom. Let's go. Hey everyone, my name is Arnie Milken and I've been in customs, global trade, food and feed controls, import controls for over 2 decades. And it's really exciting that I get to talk about the new draft target border operating model of the United Kingdom. However, the document that we need to discuss and we need to understand is 99 pages long. It's really, really big, and there is a very long list of things we need to talk about and a granular level of detail that would just not be appropriate for a 1-hour webinar where I bombard you with information, I make you do polls. This doesn't really work. So what we're going to do instead is bite-sized chunks on a particular subject as per the new vision for the target border operating model. And that should deliver real value and insight. So please let me know in the comments if you like this new format. So what we're going to do is the following. Let me show you. Don't worry, I'm just up here. Yeah, so I have decided we're going to cut this in chunks, as I've said. And today, the focus of the video is just going to be the introduction. I'm going to tell you why we're doing this. I'm going to give you the summary of what's proposed. I'm going to give you the timeline. And I'm going to tell you what the government wants you to answer, because after all, this is a draft consultation. And this is then part of a larger video series on this draft target border operating model. And you can see these live, you can watch the live premiere on these dates, on these topics. And of course, if you miss these dates and you're watching this on demand, then all of these videos will already be on our YouTube channel. All you need to do is access it and then click on the video that you want to watch. And then you can also subscribe, and that makes sure that you don't miss any of the notifications for future videos, insights, tips, tricks, and everything that you need to know about customs, global trade, SPS, etc. So I'd love to see you every day if you'd like. I promise I'll keep it short, succinct, and to the point. Shall we go? Let's do it. Before I start though, one more thing I need to say. Feedback's really important, not only for me, so you can always email me, you can always send some comments through the YouTube, but actually for the government, because don't forget, this is a draft, and that means they have specific questions, I'll tell you a bit later, and they want you to submit them on the online portal. I've linked that here and also in the comments below. Plus, there is the cabinet office that you can write to. You can also send a postcard if you want. Don't forget, if you don't want me to talk about it, but you want the government to explain it to you, then there are stakeholder sessions, events that you can sign up to. If this is April 2023 that you're watching this, then this might still be running. So click on the link also in the description below, and then you can sign up and hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Anyway, I am here to give you the brief rundown of what happened and what they proposed and what the questions are, etc., etc. We're also going to look at the timeline. So I'm not going to rehearse Brexit for you, of course not, but freedom of movement ended when we Brexited, meaning when the UK left the European Union. And that meant that from that moment on, customs declarations were required, customs duty had to be paid, there were import and export controls, in a nutshell. And you know very well that if you want to import without paying customs duties, you need to meet these rules of origin. And there are trainings on that, there are lots of videos on this, and there are blog entries on it. You can read guidance on gov.uk about all of that good stuff. The one thing the UK hasn't done is introduced fixed firm import controls for food, feed, animal products, plants, etc. From the EU, I must specify. And this was supposed to happen last year in 2022, first end of April or end of June. I think it was June, yeah, for the 1st of July. That got postponed because of the development of the target border operating model. It wouldn't make sense to do one set of rules and then just to change it again a couple of months or a year later. So we postponed everything to get to the point where we're in now, where we have this target border operating model. And the challenge, of course, or the criticism was, well, by not introducing controls on imports of food, feed, animals, plants, etc., well, all the diseases and all the problems associated with these foods can also come into our great nation. And it is true, African swine fever, for example, or bird flu, is raging through Europe, one would think. So with no controls, boom, all these pests may come to the UK. And after having lived through years of pandemic, I think we all know what that could do. So something has to change, something has to give, and it is the draft target border operating model that is this innovative solution. 5th of April 2025, unveiled, presented in a draft form, setting out the new way things are going to get imported into the UK from countries inside the EU and outside the EU, therefore aligning the two. If you want to slim it down to just two key things, they are what? Biosecurity controls and safety and security controls. Biosecurity will introduce import controls on food, feed, animal products, plants, live animals, etc., all this good stuff. Biosecurity controls on imports, that's different from customs controls. Second, customs matter, safety and security declaration. This is not related to SPS, but it is a requirement. We need to do it. We have postponed it. We have waived it for the EU, I should say. And that requires the lodging of a safety and security declaration on imports. And that now has to happen for the EU as well. Now, the timeline for implementation is a bit complicated, but I've kind of tried to summarize it and I'll explain it now, so don't worry about it. Key point is we're aiming for Q4 2023. That's not a long time to prepare. And this is really what your focus must be on. It is the introduction of health certification for imports for medium risk animal products, plants, plant products, high risk feed or food of non-animal origin, all from the EU. Now, I know what you're thinking. What is a medium risk animal product? What is my product in scope, right? We're going to look at that tomorrow. We'll look at the SPS stuff. So just bear with, health certificates required by November, okay, for a wide range of products. What they look like, how they're going to be delivered tomorrow. Next up, checks. So then we move into 2024. At the end of January, we will then have documentary and risk-based identical and physical checks on these kind of products. Also, we are introducing this SPS model, this new target border operating model, to other parts outside the EU. So all the SPS imports from Brazil, from Australia, etc., also will be benefiting from this model. And then we are going to also start to move the controls for certain high-risk products, in this case, plants and plant products, from destination to border. So currently, all these products are checked when they arrive at their final destination in a warehouse or some facility. And that moves back where it's supposed to be, and that is at the border. So the border control post that we've all built up will actually eventually going to get used. It's just a little bit later than foreseen. And that then leaves us with the safety and security stuff, the import declaration, and that is then 1 year later, 31st of October 2024, safety and security waiver for the EU gets eliminated. Leaves us by the beginning of 2025 with a new border operating model. Ta-da! Super, right? Not so bad. Hey, this was a very simplified view of what it's going to be like. If you want the whole thing, well, here it is, right? This is taken shamelessly, I must admit, from this document, and it details a lot. So you might want to look at that, whether it's the SPS changes, SPS that you are interested in, then you look at the green. And if you're looking at safety and security, then it is the lilac part. Or if you want the cross-cutting issue, then it's the orange part. I'll let you screenshot that, and then you can look at it again in more detail. I won't dwell on it because then we'll be here until midnight. But there's one thing that I particularly noted in the document, and I want to highlight this so that you're aware. And this is the quote I found really interesting. it is our firm intention to proceed with the first milestone on the 31st of October 2023, the introduction of health certification on medium risk animal products such as meat, dairy, fish, high risk food and feed of non-animal origin imported from the EU, phytosanitary certificates for phytosanitary goods imported in the EU. Now, if you're confused by all of these words and you don't know what is a high risk food and feed, just get in touch. I mean, you can Google, of course, that'll also do it. But if you want to have a discussion as regards your products, or you're not clear, get in touch, we'll sort it out. Or, hey, there's a comment function. Please write in the comments what you think about all of these steps. And what's even more key than this quote, which is quite important, is that there's an official recommendation here that businesses should work with their supply chains to prepare for this change. Now, I want to give you a quick reflection on what all of this means for one of the UK's nearest and closest partners, Ireland. And here, of course, I'm talking about the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, the island of Ireland. How does this apply to Irish goods and also to the Northern Ireland qualifying goods arriving from Ireland? And there are extra complications due to the Northern Ireland Protocol. There's a lot to say, but in a nutshell, the three key points I want to focus on. Number one is, of course, the Windsor Framework. The Windsor Framework at this point is not enforced, but maybe by the time you're watching this, it is. It's been voted for by the European Parliament, the European Council, and the House of Parliament. Therefore, there's nothing apart from a small part of parties in Northern Ireland that is against it, and therefore it's likely to be implemented. This overarches everything that has to do with Northern Ireland. So when it comes to EU Northern Ireland GB trade, always bear in mind Windsor Framework applies. Secondly, we have different flows. So you could go from Dublin to Belfast, end, or from Belfast to Dublin, finish. Or you could go from Dublin to Belfast to Manchester via Northern Ireland, or you can go from Manchester via Northern Ireland to Dublin. And depending on the route you're taking, the rules change. So if you're going from the EU, Dublin, via Northern Ireland to a destination in Great Britain, the TOR, Target Operating Model, or TOM I should probably say, applies, or the Target Operating Rules, if you want, apply, right? So all of that I'm saying here now would then be applicable. There would be health certificates, there would be inspections, there would be all of it. If you are cutting out Great Britain, if you are just dealing with Northern Ireland, rest of Ireland, or Republic of Ireland and the EU, so Belfast, Dublin, France, this target operating model would not apply, or the target operating models. So as you can see, it remains a little complex, but it's important to state that. Now, I could also show you all of this, which is again another great illustration of how this target operating model will actually work. I could explain it all to you, but again, we would be here until forever. What I love about this is that it shows a typical transaction, international journey from departure point, maybe in the EU, to a destination in Great Britain. And all the different actors and all the different steps that are involved are clearly laid out. It also shows the current rest of world importing process, or rest of world row is especially for maybe countries further afield, but also for the EU, right? And you can now see how, as we move from left to right, there are improvements. The benefits of the TOM are clearly explained. So I'll let you screenshot that, I'll let you read that, and then that's good. And I want to bring it to an end here. Why? Because I said I'm going to keep this short. The government's questions are the questions that they're asking you to respond to. And when you read these, have a think about whether you actually want to say something. You may be a customs manager, a customs professional, of a company, or you may be an importer and exporter, you may be an agent, you may have clients, and you think, how can I support them? How can I have them contribute to this consultation? It would help everyone if you would respond as honestly as possible to these questions. Now, you may have reservations though. You may say, well, I don't really know what I'm supposed to say. Or you may say, I really don't want to use the logo of my company. I don't want to even tell that I am sending this. But the feedback's really important. So is there a way we can deliver the answer to these questions to the government without unveiling which company said it? Something like that. In any case, if you want us to make a joint submission, then please get in touch, right? I am happy to collect your answers and I'm happy to pass them to the government, just need to arrive in time. So if you want to let them know and you want to go via us, via me, then please get in touch and that would be perfect. So the questions they want you to answer are fourfold. What are your views on the new safety and security controls? Well, if you don't know what these are, I recommend you check out our video on Wednesday. Then what about phyto and sanitary controls? Impact on biosecurity, animal health, welfare, food safety, business, etc., and its implementation. Again, boom, go for it. That's tomorrow. Then what about the proposed timeline? Well, we're not going to dwell on that. I've already explained it to you, so there's no more extra session on that. Do you think that you can meet this deadline, especially the quote I mentioned about 31st of October? If you can't, you need to speak up. Otherwise, they'll assume that you'll be all right. Yeah. And then what else? Any other things, please get in touch, right? And you do that with the online survey or you email them, etc. And if you don't want to do any of that, but you still want to pass a message, come to me. And there you have it. Introduction, summary, timeline, question. Quick, short, to the point. This is all you need to know about the target operating model for today. Tomorrow is another day, and I can't wait to see you.